Hey, Howard Jacobson here. Welcome to today's Plant Yourself podcast. A quick reminder, this podcast is free for everyone and supported by patrons. So if you would like to find out about becoming a patron of the show and helping us out, helping defray the cost, helping to spread the message, you can do so at plantyourself.com/gift. Thanks so much and enjoy today's episode. Hey everyone, Howard Jacobson here with another COVID-19 daily edition of the Plant Yourself podcast. Today is, day 7, U.S. lockdown, U.S. quarantine edition. I spent the morning working in the garden today. So I've mentioned before, we've flirted with radical self-reliance, but in the end, we kind of just did normal garden stuff, tomatoes, cukes, eggplant, okra, things like that. And this year, we're really focusing on the kind of self-sufficiency that can help support not us as a nuclear family, when the apocalypse comes, like 2 of us on gun turrets and the other 2 gardening, but part of a community resilience effort. And so I wanted to talk about some of the principles that I use in creating and growing and maintaining the garden. And probably get one of my kids to come out with the iPhone and we can show you what's going on and take some pictures and do some videos like that. But for right now, excuse me, this will be both video and audio, so you can just listen. And I'm going to talk about 3 of the principles that heavily inform how we garden. And this is not by any means a comprehensive list. It's just 3 things that sort of came to mind today. And I'm sure there'll be more, and I'll be talking about them. So the first one is working with nature instead of against nature. And as I go through each of these things, if you're not a gardener, if this isn't relevant to you, I encourage you to see where it is relevant, because these aren't gardening principles. These are life principles. These are philosophies. So working with nature as opposed to fighting against nature. So what does that mean in terms of gardening? So let me show you what fighting with nature is like. So imagine you have a patch of bare ground, and it's a place where there's fields around or forests around, or even a city somewhere that's not under permafrost. What's going to happen to that bare ground over time? It's only bare because something made it bare. Probably some sort of human activity or maybe an animal digging, but there's exposed dirt. So the first thing that happens is birds drop seeds, the wind drops seeds, and little weeds start sprouting. And usually the weeds that sprout first, depending on the kind of dirt it is, depending on how compact it is, depending on how rich it is. But if it's a normal sort of patch of dirt, the first weeds will be sort of shallow roots, but spreading outward to almost like a Band-Aid to keep the topsoil from blowing away. And once you have those in place, other seeds can then shelter underneath those leaves, underneath those little branching stems, and the next set of weeds would grow up a little bit taller. Might start getting dandelions or clover or thistles. And once you have those, then you have the dandelions and the thistles have deep taproots. And so they're going to go down and they're going to start bringing up minerals and loosening the soil so other things, bigger things, can grow. The next thing you might get grasses. And then out of the grasses, you might get a bush or 2. Very often the bushes are pricker bushes. They've got thorns on them or sharp pins, almost as if nature is saying, hey, whoever caused this wound on the earth, stay away. And after that, you'll get saplings and trees, and eventually most pieces of land turn into forest. And first there'd be like pine forest, and then eventually the hardwood trees, the succession goes to a stable, a canopy of like oaks and maples and trees like that. So that's what wants to happen. So if you go in your backyard and you make a garden and you rototill, you rip out the soil, you have created an open wound that wants to return to forest. So every year you're planting annuals and you rototill again, you're basically fighting against nature. That's why you have weed problems. That's why there's so much fighting to do. And if you're growing plants, if you're growing nutrient-rich plants every year and you're harvesting them and taking them off of the land, then you've got to go and buy nutrients, buy fertility to put back on, whether it's organic fertilizer, cow manure, or veganic manures, or fish fertilizer, or bone meal, or blood meal, or cottonseed meal, whatever it is. You got to buy that from somewhere else. And so, what does it mean to work with nature instead of against nature? So one thing is we are trying to grow as many perennials as we can. So perennial gardening means plants that are supposed to grow in this part of the world. Think about an annual. Annual simply means a plant that can't survive where it is without human intervention, right? So if you have to keep replanting it because it won't reseed itself or it won't grow for a second season, that means you're growing something that's not supposed to grow there, And that's fine. We all like our broccoli and cauliflower and melons and tomatoes and eggplant, but understand that those are not sustainable without lots and lots of interventions and inputs. So if you want to work with nature, you want to plant things that will grow in a spot and grow there year after year after year. Examples are fruit bushes. We have blueberry bushes, we have blackberry canes, we have raspberries. We've planted Nanking cherries and this cute, teeny little fruit called gumi, Goumi. The most delicious little sort of tart things with tiny little seeds in them. They're teeny, so it's not a lot of calories. You'd have to work all day to feed yourself with it, but you can go down there and pick them, and they're really delicious. We also have a couple of persimmon trees. They have not produced anything. We also have 2 fig trees that haven't produced anything in over 6 years. So it's either us or the fig trees or the land that they were planted on. But in any case, we also have a pecan tree right in our backyard. Where else are we growing? And so we keep planting. So a couple of years ago, we put in new blueberry bushes. We have a grape arbor that has Scuppernong muscatine grapes. So working with nature means, first of all, aiming for perennials. And there's lots and lots of perennial crops that you can even put in garden beds. Asparagus is an example of a perennial crop. There's lots of others. There's a book by Eric Tonesmeyer called, I think, I'll put a link somewhere. Perennial Crops from A to Z, from something to something. And there's a lot more. Sorrel is another one. It's kind of you can make a soup out of it. So looking for plants that come back on their own. Another way to work with nature instead of against nature is where doesn't need weeding. Forests don't need weeding. Forests don't go, hey, humans, come on in and weed us so that we don't get overgrown. How do forests do it? They have trees that drop a lot of carbonous material onto the forest floor that acts as like a litter that keeps weeds down, but also breaks down over time and creates the incredible fertility of a forest. So one thing we do is we take wood chips wherever we can get them, as long as they're from the right kind of tree and not the kind of tree that likes to send out chemicals to kill all its neighbors, like eucalyptus or black walnut or magnolia or red cedar, but a tree that plays well with others that gets chipped down when the trucks come by and they're taking down the branches next to the telephone poles, or when we have a tree come down and we need it to be removed, or if it looks like it's going to fall on our house in the next storm, we take those chips and we mulch with them. We mulch over the garden beds. So mulching is another way of working with nature. That's how nature grows forests. So it's a way that we can keep the weeds down, we can keep moisture in the soil, we can raise the temperature of the soil because it's like wearing a blanket, so the plants can start growing sooner. And eventually those chips break down into very, very rich humus, aerated soil that allows for the growth of the mycelium networks. That's the third way we work with nature, is that we don't till every single year. So when you till, when you use one of those big tines and those machines, or you plow, you're basically returning it to its Band-Aid state, that state when it's totally raw and unsupported. So when we don't till, we then get mycelium networks. And mycelium is just like the fungi. If you ever turn over a compost pile and you see like white threads, or even little mushrooms popping up in your beds, that's become a mature area that the mycelium promote certain plants. In fact, there's a lot of research that suggests that it's the mycelium, the fungi under the ground, that determine what appears above it, that they are sort of the orchestra leaders to determine, okay, this will be a forest, this will be meadow, and because they're the sort of the internet of the plant world, communicating and conducting. So by leaving it, so instead of rototilling, I will use a hoe and just sort of scrape off the top. Sometimes we'll just mow the weeds and let them die in their place, and then make divots to plant things so that all of the fertility that grows there, we're not just taking it away, we're letting it return to the soil. So that's how we work with nature in the garden. I'll leave it there for now. I'll talk about some more principles later on, and I'll try to get some video to show you exactly what we do and how we're doing it. And maybe some of you are more expert at this than I am, and you can offer some help, guidance, and suggestions. The tip jar for Plant Yourself is open at plantyourself.com/gift. So if you'd like to support these daily podcasts, if they're useful to you, if you'd like to support the mission of the show as I figure out what it will continue to be in this strange new world, much appreciated. If you have 2 coins to rub together. If not, if you're in the position that a lot of us are in and not making a lot of money right now, enjoy this. This is my gift to you. Second thing, we've just reopened the WellStart Health Coach training program. So if you're sitting around and you've got more time on your hands than you used to, and you'd love to learn how to help people eat healthier, live healthier, basically behave themselves the way they want to behave to get the health destiny that they want. If you know people who are interested in being healthier but struggle with the behaviors and with the habits and with the details, this course will teach you in 12 weeks how to work with people in an incredibly effective way where you're not preaching, you're not annoying them, you are coaching them to make the changes that they want to make and that they are holding themselves accountable for. If you'd like to find out more about that, I don't let anybody in without an interview with me first. So the first step would be to go to the website, which is wellstartcoach.com, read all about the program, watch the videos, watch the testimonials. Really, don't sign up for the interview until you've read all that so that we can have an intelligent conversation. Then if you're interested, let me know by registering for the enrollment interview. We'll schedule that and see if it's a good fit for you. The next one starts on May 11th. So that's about it for today. Thank you for listening, for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow. As always, be well, my friends. All right, time for thanks. Thanks to Will Ridenauer for allowing me to use his beautiful song, Sabali Dawn, the Dance of Peace. You can find more of Will's music at his website, willridenauer.com. And of course, thanks to all of you Plant Yourself podcast patrons. Kim Harrison, Lynn McClellan, Anthony Disson, Brittany Porter, Dominic Maurer, Barbara Whitney, Tammy Black, Amy Good, Amanda Hatherley, Mary Jane Wheeler, Ellen Kennelly, Mr. Cobb, Rachel Behrens, Christine Nielsen, Tina Sharp, Tina Ahern, Jennifer Volkanovsky, David Bizek, The Mysterious, Michelle X, Elspeth Feldman, Leah Stoller, Alan Christensen, Colleen Peck, Michelle Landry, Josina, Sarah Durkis, Rhymes with Circus, Kelly Cameron, Wayne Pedersen, Janet Selby, hi Janet, Claire Adams, Tom Franzek, Jeanette Benham, Gil Lissert, David Donahue, Blair Cyber, Dorona Vizov, Gio and Carolyn Argentati, Jody Friesen, Ruth Ann Funderburg, Misha Rosen, Michael Warbeck, The Equally Mysterious, Tracy Z, Aviva Lael, Alicia Lemus, Rebecca Hughes, Val Linneman, Rhymes with Cinnamon, Nick Harper, Martha Bergner, Susan Ahmad, Ollie Levine, The Inscrutable Harry R., Susan Laverty, The Panda Vegan, Craig Kovic, Adam Scharf, Karen Burry, Heather Morgan, Kelly Machia, Deanne Norton, Bonnie Lynch at Plant Happy Oregon, Sabina Kurtzels, Nigel Davies, Marion Blum, Teresa Coble, Julian Watkins, Breed O'Connell, Shannon Hirschman, Linda Ayat, Holm Hedegaard, Izatu Zinwa, Connie Hainline, Aaron Greer, Alicia Davis, Heather O'Connor, Carolyn Jensen, Sherry Orlikoski of Plant Powered for Health, Karen Smith, Scott Mirani, Karen Jo Crabtree, Tanya Lewis, Kirby Burton, Teresa Carell, Kevin McCauley, Elizabeth Rothschild, Ann Jesse, Cheryl Dwyer, Jenny Hazelton, Valerie Peltier, Peter W. Evans, Colleen Harrison, Justin Divich, Joshua Summermeyer, Dennis Bird, Darby Kelly, Lori Fanny, Linnea Lundquist, Valerie Hummel, Emily Iaconelli, Levy Wallach, Rosamund McAtee, Dan Picorni, Stephen Lehman, Patty DiMartino, Mike and Donna Kartz, Deanne Bishop, Bill Brielf, Gunter Schmidt, Marjorie Lewis, Kelly Molden, Trish Adams, Ian Kramer, Nancy Sheldon, Lindsay Bayshore, Gunmarie Hagan, Tracy Gullidge, Laura Heaton, Meg from Mama Says, Rochelle Kennedy, Diana Goldman, Stacey Stokes, Ben Savage, Michael Kay, Holly Butler, David Hughes, Connie Rogers, Claire England, Sally Robertson, Paran Ganshi, Amy Daly, Brian Tourville, Mark Jeffrey Johnson, Josie Dempsey, Karen Schmidt, Pamela Hayden, Emily Perryman, Olga Sidorowska, Allison Corbett, Richard Stone, Lauren Vaught of Edible Musings, Aaron Hasty, Sean Owen, Sagar Nayak, Erica Piedra, Danielle Roberts, and Michael Lushton for your generous support of the podcast. That's it for now. As always, be well, my friends.